Just relax right where you're at. Take a moment to focus on the breath. Relax, release, and let go. Breathing in, we're filled. And breathing out, we relax. And just stay with the breath. Just noticing how it works. The infilling and the outflowing. Say to yourself, I am behaving. I'm behaving. Am I following the rules? Sometimes it is difficult to decide when to follow a more accepted approach in our actions and when to break out into something new. It seems that there are too many rules, too many laws in our modern society, and that it's hard to remember that truly there is only one law that matters in the long run. That is the law of love. A loving God is trying to express through us our expression of love is us allowing that loving God to express through us. The expression of love is proper conduct. At times, extending love has seemed like work, but it's really quite easy following a surrender. So we relax on the breath. We relax on the breath into proper service. Doing the right thing for the right reason. We see ourselves moving through life calm and collected. In absolute awareness that we are cared for. It's easy now. Easy to conduct ourselves in a manner that shines as an inspiring example. We perform not as actors, but as representatives of the divine. No more sense of towing the line to gain approval of others. We comport ourselves in an exemplary manner, almost effortlessly, because we are in sync with creation. Listen. Listen, Linda. Google that.
I love that.
Listen, Linda. This is really, that's like the most important word that we have. Listen. Listen. So, this listening, well, first, just in our regular interaction with others, probably a good idea. Start listening a little bit more. I think we can all do it better. I know for sure that I can do it better. A lot of times, it's easy for us to think we already know what the other person's going to say. We don't even try to complete their sentences for them. But if we just stop for a second, I believe we'll be surprised many times. So the ability to listen gives us the means with which to relate effectively with others. Because if we actually listen to them, we hear not only the words, but if we're really paying attention, we see the body language. And even if we think we don't understand body language, we understand at a level that we might not be consciously aware of. So putting our attention on what other people are saying when they're talking, and just giving them the opportunity to say the whole thing. Let them say the whole thing. No need to interrupt. I'm talking to myself right now, just as much as I'm talking to you, because it's a tendency that we can fall into, especially if we're impatient. Yeah. Let's cut to the chase here. Let's get, I mean, we may not say that out loud, but this is where we're going in the mind. So this ability then to be quiet extends itself from just our conversations with others. We think about it in a deeper way. The ability to listen is actually the ability to meditate. So I read it I don't know where, I can't remember where, but I read it somewhere that prayer was talking to God and meditation was listening for God's answer, right? So meditation is thought, or prayer is thought, and meditation is no thought. Listening, not having to have our own stream of thoughts get in the way of what's about to be presented to us. So this is this lends itself to this whole idea of making decisions. And I know I put at the top of the bulletin there, it says decision, because that's really what it's all about. Listening leads to good decisions. Many times, if I look back at all of the bad decisions, I can't even remember how many, but there's plenty of regrets, right? And if I look back at those decisions, I will see very clearly that all of those bad decisions, that there's a one common factor in all those bad decisions. I did not listen. I did not listen to maybe someone who had experience in that area who was trying to tell me, don't do this, right? I did not get quiet before making the decision and allowing a loving God to express, allowing that Spirit to guide me into what to do. So now, again, when I think back about things that have gone consistently well, these are the things that have arisen out of my quiet time. These are the things that have arisen out of my prayerful manner, out of prayer followed by meditation, listening. So yes, sometimes fluke occurs, and I will do something very impulsive, and it'll turn out okay. But I know from experience that things that are really important, things that really give long-term satisfaction, come from the ability for me to listen and then move into action. So there's a formula for this. And part of this formula is, first of all, to realize that we are not the authors of ourselves. We did not speak ourselves into existence. We did not write ourselves into this life. We were authored by creation. We were authored by the Creator. When we stop thinking about ourselves as being the authors of our own lives, we actually are participating in our life, but our life is not separate from the life of others. So we may think we are writing our own life, but all this interaction is going on all the time. We do not live alone. We cannot stand alone. If you think about what Thich Nhat Hanh says about this, he said, when you look at the flower, you will see that the flower is composed entirely of non-flower elements. It's the sun. It's the earth. It's the rain. We are composed of entirely non-human elements. So all of this interaction is going on all the time. We totally ignore it. We think we're writing our life. We're going through life just blithely making decisions. Here, just at the drop of a hat, we'll do something totally impulsive, then it turns out bad. We go, oh, woe is me. The world's against me. Circumstances and events are conspiring. If the government would just do this, then it would be okay. If my job would just, if the people at my job would just start acting right, then these things wouldn't keep happening to me. All because we are opposed to, we are in opposition to the rest of life when we are making decisions for ourselves alone. So this formula says that for my purpose in life, which we've already defined, and this is the philosophy that I'm putting forward here every week, that we've decided that our purpose is to be of service. Our purpose is to be helpful in life, and we know it's not just a theory. When we are helpful, when we are of service, we feel better. Our lives go better. We are more fulfilled. The acceptance, long sought acceptance and approval of others is given to us not because we were seeking it, but because we were of service. So all of the things that make life worth living come to us as a direct result of service. And proper service is doing the right thing for the right reason at exactly the right time. So how do we figure it out? What we need is, for our purpose of service, we need some kind of guidance. Well, the guidance is coming. I believe the guidance is coming to us all the time if we're just paying attention. We're just quiet enough to still that self-centered voice for a moment. We will hear what needs to be done. And so what the second tradition says about this, it says, for our group purpose, there's but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. So for us to apply this idea, it's to say that I'm not the boss. I am not the boss. I remember I loved that years ago that when I saw this video and this little kid said, "You're not the boss of me." And I said, that's the truth. That's the truth. And this is the way that we need to be thinking. We treat other people sometimes like they're little children. But even little children, bossing them around is really not the most effective way. Sometimes, at the edge of danger, we have to bark a command, maybe to save some kind of injury or something like that. But most of the time, being bossy doesn't help no matter who we're talking to, no matter who we're involved with. So then, when you get into a position where you actually have some responsibility for an organization of whatever size, then it gets like really easy. It gets like really easy to go the wrong way. Think, hey, I'm the boss here. I've got to fix this. I've got to get this done. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Well, it's totally the wrong way to look at it. So how am I going to fix it? How am I going to make it work out? I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at somebody under and say, do this, do that. But what this tradition is saying to us is, let us allow a loving God to express through us. So whatever the organization is, whether it's a family, whether it's a group of friends, and now you can't do this formally like when you go out to dinner with people. I mean, they think you're weird. But you can allow the principle of it to work. So when someone else has an opinion about what to do next, in whatever thing it is, whether you agree or don't agree, the best response is to say, tell me more about that. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. Whether you agree or don't agree, you want to hear more, you want to hear the whole thing, all of it. And then allow someone else to add to or take away from. And just keep this thing developing. And pretty soon, what ends up happening is the right idea arises in the midst of the group. People have to feel safe. People have to feel safe, so you can't have other people at the table go, oh, that's stupid. Can't have other people at the table, which happens many times in NA service, say, oh, we tried that 5 years ago, it didn't work. Those kind of responses will not help us get to a group conscience. We're interested. We want to hear more. We want to work with the ideas. And what we're trying to do is allow the Spirit to express. We're trying to allow this loving God to express. So now, if we just think about this, if it's a loving God expressing, and the decision that we come up with is not loving, it could not have been a loving God expressing. It was our ego expressing. So this is one of the keys, right? One of the keys to the whole decision-making process is love being applied? Is love being applied? Or is there some more short-sighted goal that's being sought here at the expense of love? And love just being this very simple idea. Connection and goodwill. Connection and goodwill. So anytime we make it, we may think it's expedient. We've got to do this. We have to make this decision. So, okay, so the guy, when he called about the house down here, he said they said we're going to give you, they'll give you this amount of money, but they need the utilities turned on so that they can make sure that everything is good. He said, but it's not a deal breaker. And I said to him, listen, the pipes burst in this house. If we turn the water on, water's going to be flying everywhere. So we can't turn the water on. We're not trying to hide that from them. We're not trying to say, the utilities are only shut off because you can't turn the electricity's on. Anyway, the furnaces are bad. What does ego say? Ego says, don't tell them the furnaces are bad. Don't tell them that the plumbing is bad. Just try to get the deal. So what we say, we said, look, if they want the house the way it is, knowing that the furnaces are bad and that they have to replumb, here's the deal, 31. 31, we're done, right? Now, so this is because trying to trick people into getting a couple extra dollars, it may help the bank account for a minute, but it leaves all kinds of nasty residue behind. So there's no reason to do it. There's no good reason. So except we always think that we don't have enough. So let me figure out a way to get a little bit more at the expense of someone else. This whole idea of allowing a loving God to express through our group conscience is contrary to that idea. We're saying we do not have to do things that are not loving just to get by, just to get to the next thing. So, in order for this all to happen, I have to release this thing that's very important to me. I have to let go of this thing that I'm holding on to very tightly. This thing that I'm holding on to very tightly is my opinion. I have an opinion. I know what's right. I have an opinion. I have an agenda. I know what we should do. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what we need to do here. I've got it. I've got it. I've got this genius idea right now. And the first time somebody questions my genius idea, I want to fight over it. I want to argue. I want to say, oh, no, that's a... And I want to maybe go to the back room and conspire with a couple of other people and say, hey, listen, you go with me on my idea. We'll just vote this thing through. We'll just make this, you and I, and we'll just make it happen. I have to release my position. I have to release my opinion. I have to release whatever personal agenda that I'm holding on to. And this does not mean that I don't have a good idea. Every once in a while I come up with a good idea. So what I want to do then is I want to present my good idea. I want to put it out there on the table, and then realizing that according to this principle, as soon as I put that good idea on the table, it's not mine anymore. It now belongs to the group. It now belongs to a loving God to work with. And I have to be okay. I have to be okay with whatever modifications occur. If I can just relax for a minute, it will be okay. They're not. I don't have to worry about my idea being ruined. And then this other very cool thing. If everybody doesn't agree, let's not do it. If everybody doesn't agree today, we have this thing we want to do. We have, let's say that we decide that we want to have we want to have this effort where we're going to promote bicycling as a church. We're going to promote bicycling in the community. We've got all these ideas that we have, and we're going to put this. Not just put a sign up and say ride more bikes, but actually we're going to put this plan together, right? And we sit down and start putting the plans together. There's a lot of good ideas about how to promote this, but we hit a roadblock, and we can't quite get over the hump where everybody agrees on the direction. So we say, okay, let's just leave it sit. We don't have to decide this today. Let's all meditate on it, and then we'll come back next time that we meet, and we'll see if we can't agree. Why do we think we have to force an answer for it? Why do we think we have to force, if there's no timeline attached to it, why do we have to make sure that we come up with a decision today? Sometimes there's a decision that has to be made. It has to be made because there's some kind of, a lease has to be signed, otherwise you're going to not get the apartment, right? So you need to decide on an apartment. You got to decide on one because you need the lease signed so that you can move in, right? So sometimes you have to force the decision, but very seldom is that the case. So all of these decisions that we make in our family groups, in our work groups, in our whatever kind of service groups that we're involved in, we just do this one simple thing. Release our personal agenda and start listening. And the answer just arises. And then listen. So we put it forward, we put our idea forward, and then we come to a decision. It's not exactly what we wanted. It's not exactly what we wanted, but we know it feels right, right? It feels right. And then we make a decision and we implement it, and then somebody later who wasn't there at the meeting says to us, well, why did you do that? I thought you told me that your idea was this and this. You know what we do then? We absolutely defend the decision. Even though we could say, oh, I know, those people. Yes, the way that I wanted to do it, that was the right way. That was the right way, but they overruled me. This is not how we deal with it. There was a reason why we made the decision. So we should be able to defend the decision to someone else who wasn't there. We should be, if we're listening, we should be able to tell them why it happened and why it's a good idea. I'll tell you something. A bad idea will not get past a loving God if we allow a loving God to express. It just won't happen. And if we make a mistake, and it really was not group conscience, but group opinion, we'll find out soon enough. And then we can make another decision. So, in order to make good decisions, we have to be good listeners. To listen to the words of our brothers and sisters, and to listen for that current that flows through our conversation. And that the current that is actually the love of God flowing within, between us, and all around us. And if we do that, we will make consistently good decisions. That's enough.